Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Dressing Room Debrief. And what a torrid Christmas to be a Chelsea fan. We have taken a point from three games against Everton on the 22nd, which was a 0-0 draw, Fulham on Boxing Day, which we lost 2-1 at Stamford Bridge, and we lost 2-0 to Ipswich. And it's just been an absolute awful couple of games compared in vast contrast really to the start of the season. We're now at the halfway point, and you can probably see why we're not going to be title contenders based on the last few games. It's been so poor, and massive question marks have to be said about Maresca in terms of his in-game management recently and his team selection. You saw against Everton and Fulham, similar where the game, we needed something to sort of try and get a win at Everton. Didn't change it. Left his subs too late. Fulham started to control the game in the second half. Made a sub in the 70th or so minute too late and didn't really do much. It was a like for like. It was in Cuckoo for Jackson rather than change it up and try and get a proper hold of the game, which Fulham were dominating. And then yesterday, well, actually it started after the Fulham game when he come out in the press conference and said that he was going to rest players. And that is a real sort of screw you to Ipswich, in my opinion, where if I'm an Ipswich manager or a player, I'm posting that all over the training ground where they think, look, they think we're a soft touch. They think they can come here, play whatever team they want, and they're just going to turn up and get the win. For me, that's what it seemed like, and that's how Chelsea played. The players were like lethargic. There were so many sloppy passes, like 2 yard passes they couldn't even get right, or passes that weren't on going straight to Ipswich players. In my honest opinion, Maresca should have went out there with his strongest team, who, by the way, only play in the Premier League because he plays the other players in the conference and constantly switches over. So I don't really know how they're going to be tired anyway. I know there's a lot of games, but you can't really use that excuse because there's a lot of teams out there like your Liverpools that who are playing Champions League and higher level football and playing both players in both competitions. So I don't really see how that's a sort of excuse for us because for me, you've got to play your strongest team, get about 2 or 3 nil up, and then you can start changing your players. And the players he's resting aren't even our main players. Your players like Casado and Palmer are the ones that are playing every single game, and you can literally see their performance is decreasing as they're playing more games because they were so reliant on those sort of players. So I just didn't really understand that yesterday. And then he's selecting players. You got Reece James, who understands come back from injury. Malo Gusto's been at the team with injuries and other things, and you've got them both on the bench. And instead, you play centre back at right back, Dasazi, who is a poor, in my opinion, not a great defender at the best of times. It can have good games here and there, but the mistake for the second goal, and he also just nullifies the attack going forward. Now, we've always been a team that uses the wing backs going forward, and they're one of our main strengths. And he just nullified that, where it was like playing with 10 men. And it wasn't just him. You had João Felix, who, there's been a lot of cries recently to stick him on. You can see why he doesn't play based on that performance. I just couldn't really see any players that were decent. All of them were poor. And I just thought that it just really frustrates me recently when you come out of a stadium and the whole fan base says he needed to make a change. You can see the teams like struggling, like Fulham, where they're controlling the game, and you just need to change something up to otherwise you lose, which we've been doing now. And it's so annoying because it's so preventable. It feels like we're walking into these sort of slow deaths sort of thing when you can see what's going to happen from a mile off. And it's really disappointing because the league I feel like is anyone's this year because the standard of the league all over is poorer. Teams can't defend. You see some of the goals Liverpool scored against West Ham. It's just shocking compared to a few years back. Well, I say a few years back, probably over a decade now, when teams can actually defend properly. I thought the referee needs to look at himself. The VAR team needs to look at himself. Now, Ipswich, don't get me wrong, fully deserved to win, outplayed us, wanted it more, worked as a team, worked as if threw their bodies on the line, like everything depended on it. Liam Delap up top just dominated Tosin and Colwell. But that penalty, my word, that is a huge decision. And for my watching it in the away end, I thought it was the biggest dive I've ever seen. And literally, he's gone up like a ballerina. The keeper's barely brushed him or even touched him. And the referee's given the penalty. And VAR said, yeah, it's all right compared to Goodison Park when Pickford's come flying out off the ground, studs showing, clips Gusto, and VAR say play on. I just don't get the consistency. The refereeing is I'm trying not my hardest not to swear here, but it's shocking. It's just so poor. That changes the game because then Ipswich can get settle into their game plan, gives them confidence. They can sort of protect that lead, and then you've got a clear offside by João Felix, which takes them about 5 minutes to review. I just don't understand it. I really don't. And I'm a bit worried going into Palace away now because it really needs to sort of sort it out. Maresca needs to get some points on the board because we've got winnable games. We've got Bournemouth at home, we've got Wolves at home, West Ham at home. We've got Palace on Saturday away, and for me, before we go to Man City away, we've got to be picking up maximum points now because it's just been shocking. Winnable games over Christmas that we've walked away with 1 point.